Welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning viewer, hello, welcome back. And if you are new, stick around and don't forget to subscribe to my channel right here. So today we're doing a Q&A session. I asked you guys on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr to ask me some questions about travel and my life as a business traveler. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so my first question was from a Twitter follower at JB, and she wants to know, what is the best strategy for storing money? Like suitcase, carry-on, should you hide it? I'm gonna start by saying that everybody has their preferences on how they deal with keeping their money safe, where they store it. My number one line of defense has always been to divide and conquer. So what I will generally do is I will keep the Visa or one of the credit cards on me and keep one of them stored away in either my luggage or in my safe back at the hotel. And I'll do the same thing with the cash. So leave half back in the hotel or in my checked luggage and then keep half on me. That way that if something happens while I am out touring around or while I'm on the plane or vice versa, if my checked luggage doesn't show up, I always have sort of half of my stash available to me. My second question is from Twitter as well, from @CrazyKHaynes. She wants to know if I have any tips for a nervous first-time flyer. So I personally actually sort of struggle with the fear of flying as well. As much as I fly around the world all the time, I still get a little nervous when I'm on flights. So something that I try and do is, first of all, just to like conquer that fear, I always ask myself, like, what is it that I'm actually afraid of? In my case, I was afraid that the plane was gonna crash. And then from there, I just, look at the positive facts. I mean, flying, first of all, statistically is one of the safest forms of travel that you could take. So, I mean, I get in a car, I drive every day. I shouldn't be afraid to get on a plane. I think that fear stems from it being something that's different, something foreign to me. And the more that I fly, the more used to the feeling that I get, the safer I feel. My second line of defense, if I'm feeling really nervous, is just to come prepared with distractions. So I will bring with me, a book. I will bring music. Music is my favorite, or like headphones to watch the in-flight DVDs and things like that. Just so that it drowns out the sound of the plane. I find that like not being able to hear it when it's taking off and landing, and not being able to hear the wheels come down and all that kind of thing is a little more helpful. And my third line of defense, which is not necessarily something that I recommend, definitely check with your doctor before you do it, but things like, Gravol or a sleep aid, that if you absolutely need it and you're really, just super nervous and just want to relax and calm down, having a sleep aid or something there with you is really helpful. You can, take that before takeoff and just pass out for the duration of the flight. My third question was from an Instagram user @AshtonReyes. Hope I said that right. And what he wanted to know was, because I travel so much, how do I remember, or how much do I remember my favorite moments, and what do I do to like not forget all the good times? So obviously now I take a lot of videos and pictures. Honestly, I know that there are a lot of great times that I've had when I'm traveling that I've probably forgotten. That's just sort of the unfortunate part of traveling as frequently. However, it's also in my opinion that if I loved that moment and it was great at the time, that's really what it's all about, And if it was an amazing memory, chances are I do remember it, or it'll come back to me. I basically just try and live in the moment, and if I remember it, I remember it, and if I don't, well, it was still worth it at the time, and that's what traveling is all about. The Travel Guru 22 sent me an email through the TL Travel website. I have that linked below. And what they wanted to know was, do I have any tips for staying fit on the road? I am not like a fitness person. I'm not really into all that. Like, I don't know a lot about the whole healthy eating thing, and I don't have like a strict regimen that I follow when I travel. Basically, my best advice to someone who's trying not to get those beach pounds on is just, get out and do some activities, go for a hike. So many beautiful viewpoint hikes that you can do almost anywhere you go. So, go for a viewpoint hike, or go snorkeling, or I don't know, if you're a winter traveler, take a snowboard out, anything like that, just to stay active while you're on the road. Krista Haynes tweeted, "Are hostels safe, and how can you go about making sure that things don't get stolen?" So for me, I did my first backpacking trip around Europe, and we hosteled the entire way, and I never once had anything lost or stolen. I think there are just a lot of little things that you can do to ensure the safety of the place where you're staying. I don't think it's so much the hostel atmosphere that can lead to things getting stolen, but more so the neighborhood that you choose to be in. So I mean, if you do your research and you're staying in a hostel that is highly reviewed, and you can check things like that on websites like TripAdvisor and Lonely Planet and Hostel Bookers, and people who've stayed there before will tell you in the reviews if they had any problems. Make sure that you take a look at the neighborhood that you're going to be in. Is it a tourist area? Is it a more local area? Are you in a back alley? Are you out in the countryside? All those things are going to make a difference. And then also just check and see if you're staying in a hostel that has good security. So I always like to stay in a hostel or a hotel that has 24-hour reception or has either in-room safes, or in the case of hosteling, you'd be looking for one that has lockers. Another good tip that you can use if you do choose to hostel around is to try and stay in hostels where the dorm room numbers are smaller. So you're always going to be at less of risk of having something stolen or lost if you're in a hostel room with, say, 6 people to a dorm as opposed to, say, 18 people to a dorm. So that's something to keep in mind as well. A number of you actually asked me about what the most reliable website is to look up what you can bring back from your trips when you're traveling. So this is a question that people seem to have all the time, and no one really knows where to look, and everyone gets sort of different opinions. For me, now I'm Canadian, but before I go on a trip, I will always take a look at the Government of Canada website. They have a link to an entire section that will tell you all about, alcohol allowances, tobacco, anything like that, and you can sort of link through and see what you can and cannot bring back. So I'm gonna put the link to that in the down bar below, and I'm sure that in other countries they would have the same thing on their government website as well, so definitely check it out. And then when it comes to things that are a little more specific, like your baggage allowance as far as size and weight goes, that's gonna be something that you wanna check with your individual airline. Miss Mari on YouTube, she had a question for me as well that she sent via email. If you haven't seen her YouTube channel, definitely check it out. I'm gonna link it somewhere around here and then also in the down bar below so that you can go over and subscribe to her channel as well. What she wanted to know was how I balance traveling and working on the road. So, the blogging, the vlogging, I'm a trip planner, so obviously I do a lot of that. Keeping up with the website, and then also enjoying my time on the road. Scheduling, organizing. So because planning trips is 90% of what I do, obviously that takes up the most amount of time. Usually when I'm scheduling travels for myself, unless it is for a retreat that I am leading, I don't go on these trips. So I will often plan my own personal travels and discovery trips for TL travel at times when I am not in the planning process for someone else's trip, and also I don't tend to travel when my travelers are also on the road, just to make things easier. So I always plan my trips when I don't have a lot of other things going on, and then when I'm on the road, it's just scheduling. So I will often schedule in advance the hotels that I'm going to go meet with, any sort of like vlogging that I want to do specifically for activities, I will plan that ahead of time. And then I just at this point I just kind of work when I'm on the road always. I'm always doing something. But the one thing that I do try to do is just set aside one day at least per week that I'm traveling that's just for me, just to be on the beaches or just to do an activity that I'm not reviewing and I'm not planning on sending anybody else on, just to enjoy it for myself. And that generally tends to work pretty well because I love what I do. So even when I'm working on the road, even if I'm working 6 or 7 days, I never really feel like I'm working that hard because I love it so much. And I would be doing it whether I was being paid to do it or not. And lastly was what is the one item that I absolutely cannot live without while I'm on the road, and also any packing tips that I have. So for packing trips, I actually have 2 different videos that are already on my website, and I will link those below and also sort of pop these up right here. And you can check those out. I have a how to pack and also a what I bring in my carry-on bag when I'm on long haul flights. So I hope that those will both be helpful for you. As far as the one item that I absolutely cannot leave home without, aside from obviously like my camera and my laptop and all that like travel gear, if I'm connected and I'm going to stay connected, then my smartphone is the thing that I would bring. And if you have a smartphone that's unlocked, you can buy a SIM card in a variety of other countries that are usually a lot cheaper than in Canada. and take that around and just sort of stay connected with data and everything. And you have all of your apps. I use my maps and my organizer and everything when I'm on the road so that I can stay up to date with what's going on. And I can keep up to date with you guys with, you know, Instagram and Twitter and all that fun stuff. And if I am not staying connected and I just want to get off the grid, which doesn't happen very often, but my one item that I would not be able to travel without, honestly, would probably be my refillable clip-on water bottle. I love it and I always keep it full, and it's like an insulated one. I wish I could show you. I got it from Swoob. I'll link that below because it's my favorite. And yeah, it keeps the water colder longer, and I'll just like fill it up with some ice from the store and fill it up with, it fits about 2 regular sized bottles of water into the one thing. So I'll carry that around with me, and having it clipped to me just keeps me hydrated. Sometimes I'll put my electrolytes in it. And yeah, just it's a really simple thing, but it's something that I don't think that I would be able to travel without. So there you have it. There's my very first Q&A video. Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. I know there were a few questions that I did not address in this video. I'm going to try and do another one pretty soon. If you have any other questions that you want to ask, feel free to feel free to tweet or ask on Instagram, or post your questions in the comment box below, and I'll be happy to answer them in another video or blog. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. We post videos every Sunday or Monday-ish, and sometimes sporadically through the week as well. And follow us on social media at TL Travel, and also check us out online at www.tltraveltrips.com or www.tltravel.ca for those fellow Canadians. That's all for me for now. Bye!